हाँ 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 Samir, can we start?
Yeah, please go ahead.
So Namrata, you will start or?
So you start.
So friends, we'll start with the meeting. We have today Mr. Narsian Elogan, who is going to take how to start with the data analytics, and he is going to cover all this. Sorry for the delay in starting the meeting because of some issues. Just to introduce the speaker.
Kamlesh, can't hear you.
Hello. He's facing some technical problems, so I'll go ahead. Good morning, friends. Welcome to today's webinar on data analytics. Today we have an amazing speaker who is going to give a deep insight about data analytics journey. So, Mr. C.A. Narsia Avalogan is a futurist. He's a GRC professional, a keynote speaker, and partner of Ken and Company Chartered Accountant. He is international speaker on IS assurance, data analytics, cybersecurity, forensic audit, data privacy laws, and emerging technologies. He specializes in office automation, digitization, and automation solution, in addition to areas such as data analytics, risk audit, privacy impact assessment, internal audit, information technology consulting, information system assurance, implementation and testing of internal financial control under SOX and SOC audits. Advisory in emerging area of technology such as artificial intelligence, blockchain, cloud computing, cybersecurity, data analytics, and big data. His faculty for DISA, CISA, and other courses on blockchain. He has recently authored a book, Digitizing CA Practice. You can reach out to him on his LinkedIn ID. He will be happy to accommodate you as his friend. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. Very good morning to all of you. Before I get started, let me do a few basic checks. I'm quickly sharing my screen and I'm presuming my screen is visible. My voice is visible and I am visible. Namrata, I think we can get started with these 3 checks.
Yes, sir. Your voice is visible, screen is visible, yeah, and voice is audible. Your video is visible and screen is visible.
All right. So I think I've done the basic elements of mic testing. Okay. So my dear friends, today's session is going to be on how do I get started with data analytics. And this is going to be a very, very pragmatic approach. Now, when I use the word pragmatic approach, I thought I'll take you through a practical case or a practical journey. Now, in case tomorrow you want to forget tomorrow, you want to get started with the data analytics today itself. What is it that you can do? So before I go a little deeper into the subject or into the concept, let me give you a couple of background before we head into the session. The first and foremost rule is I am not going to speak about what is data analytics, why data analytics, all those things. There are a lot of information available on the online content, and of course, you can look into our YouTube channel or my LinkedIn profile. I have spoken about a lot of these things. What today's session I thought I'll take you through is अगर मैं डेटा एनालिटिक्स का जर्नी स्टार्ट करना है, मेरे पास क्या है? Correct? If you go back to that wonderful historical movie, correct? Somebody says मेरे पास माँ है, correct? So here मेरे पास क्या है to get started with the data analytics journey, and you require only one important thing: data. अगर आपके पास data है, I think you can get started with your analytics journey. That is as simple as this. That's point number 1, which I wanted to tell you. Point number 2, which I also thought I should mention to you, is it is not about what the data which you have, it is about the data which you want. In other words, it is not all about saying, hey, mere paas data hai, mere paas tools hai, mere paas software hai. The question is, what are you going to do with that? Because today, analytics has become such a fancy and a buzzword that everybody in the world wants to speak about analytics. Nothing wrong in it. Nothing wrong in it. But the real question for us to answer is, after I know the skill, or if I know the tool, or if I know that I have to use this analytics, what is the next step? How do I get started? What is the tiny steps I need to get started so that I'm able to explore this particular, domain? So with that as a thought process and background, I thought I will structure this session, and I'm going to take you some bit of, basic insights or basic theory, and I'll quickly jump into practical live demos where we try to see how we can use data analytics. Today, we're talking about, I'm sure all of us as kids and even now enjoy noodles, right? That's something which is quick. Of course, I'm not talking on the health side and other things. I'm just talking about something which, which all of us like, is the fact that it gets ready very quickly. So we're talking about instant noodles, instant pasta, instant pizzas, instant ready to make food. Can my data analytics be a ready to eat or a ready to consume in my platter? That's the ideology which I also want to drive you through. And that's what I'm going to address, saying, hey, you know what? Let's do instant data analytics. That's also something which I thought I'll take you through. And when I say instant data analytics, literally I'm going to do instant. I will show it to you live. You will get an idea about it. Okay. So with that note, I'll quickly get started. I'm Narsimhan Ilangon, practicing chartered accountant. My area of specialization is technology. I've had a huge passion in technology, and with God's grace, I've been doing some or the other thing innovative in technology. And thanks to my mentors, thanks to my teachers, thanks to the social media through which I learn and get a whole lot of insights. So quickly, because this is an individual presentation, I think my organization's views are totally independent. Let's not connect that and this. So my agenda is very simple, my dear friends. Let's talk about how do I get started with my data analytics journey. Of course, some basic concepts we'll have to know. I'm not going to explain what is data analytics, but I'll definitely take you through some basic things. Then what is the types of data which you can analyze and how you can pull the feed, etc. Then let's look into overview of data analytics tools. Any tools you look into, they have certain key features. Now we'll just look into a few of them, and I thought I'll take you through certain live demos. Okay, so that's at a very, very high level what we are going to look into. Now, when I use this word, data analytics, the moment everybody is talking or everybody is thinking, hey, you know what, this is nice, that is nice, this is an issue, that is a challenge. A lot of things like this are, under constant discussion. But one thing which we should definitely keep in our mind is the fact that after learning this, how do I get started? Correct? So the first and foremost thing which we should keep in mind is what is the steps which we follow to analyze any sort of a data set. Now, for you to get started with my data analytics, your data should be in a reasonably organized format. I repeat the language I used, reasonably organized format. Now, why do I use the word reasonably organized? This is necessary because if your data is not organized, a whole lot of time of yours just gets lost in getting the data into the right shape. The research has proven time and again that most of the data scientists in the world spend a substantial amount of their time in just cleansing or cleaning the data. So that is why today's session I'm going to focus more on structured data analytics. Unstructured, even though I'll give you an idea, but I want to focus more on structured data analytics. So the first and foremost is you need to get the data. Now let's talk from a different angles. You may be a chartered accountant doing audit. You may be a finance professional preparing MIS reports. You may be a IT auditor. When I say IT, it could either be income tax audit or a tax auditor, GST audit, or a person who loves technology and tries to do technology-based audit. Whatever may be the scope, first identify what is your objective before even you go to something which is missing in the slide. Because the key messages I thought I'll try to communicate. Of course, there is some information which is there. The key thing which we have to realize is, do I have the required amount of data with me? No doubt, that is one side. Second, what is it that I intend to do? Let's take a simple example. I am talking about the sales file of your organization. Now, what is it that you want to do? You want to analyze something out of it. You want to identify a pattern out of it. There is some objective behind that. That is the first thing which we need to identify. The second thing, once you've identified what your objective is, now let's look into the data. When you look into the data, first to see whether the data is in an organized form. When I use the word organized form, the organized form normally we refer to rows and columns. Rows and columns. Of course, there may be some time-consuming exercise. It may not be in a proper shape. Those challenges are there. The moment this has been done, the moment this setup is taken care of, what is the next thing I do? Your data can be from various places. It can be from Tally. It can be from, let us presume, Salesforce, if you're talking about a sales CRM related, or a Zoho CRM, whatever the CRM data. It may be something to do with external information. Say, for example, marketing preferences. Say, for example, you're talking about, certain demographic features. Or for all you know, it could be vaccination for COVID-19. So all of this data is in some sort of a form. Forget that. You are collecting or doing a survey for the first time. Your data could be in the form of Google Forms, survey, any place, any of these apps. So that's the first part of the story. Once you have got this data in various forms, you need to get this into a row and a column form. You can use SQL, structured query language to pull out the data. You can use Excel spreadsheets, or your even CSV files or notepads will help you. But there is a whole lot of work involved in cleansing the data. The moment I say cleansing the data, what are we referring to? Data has to come into a structured format. A very simple example. Many a times we download certain information where bank transactions, the date format what my computer has and the date format which the banking website gives me is totally different. I need to get that thing cleaned. There may be additional spaces. I need to clean that up. There may be, some sort of, dots or symbols or dollars. I don't want that. I need to clear that up. Or let's take another example. You are exporting account number, and unfortunately that account number, let's say, is a 16 digit or a 15 digit or a 10, more than 10 digit. Excel says plus E or 3.005. I am not able to understand what's gone wrong. So I need to cleanse the data, and normally data is of three broad types. You have the date format, you have the text format, and the numeric format. Okay, so these are the broad. You can have other variants, pictures, images. We are going to talk about what we are going to look into for a simple analysis. Once you have analyzed this, now you start playing around with the data. Now, when you start playing around with the data, I want to explore something out of it. I want to identify a pattern out of it. I want to see, is there some sort of an audit test I can perform? As I told you, go back to your audit objective. This is the most important thing, which many of them are actually failing today. They have wonderful tools. They have beautiful, use case or scenarios, but they are not able to portray it because they do not know what to do with the data. And that is where the brain of a professional like us, a functional consultant like us, comes into picture. We need to tell them, hey, it's nice that you have this data. Can you put in this data into some format for analysis? That's what this is a data exploration. Once you have done that exploration, try to get a look and feel of the data. What is the highest, lowest, all of those. You look into the analysis, as I told you. Once you're done with the analysis, you do the reporting. And once reporting is over, you take a decision of it. So this is a very, very high level what I'm intending to do. Now you will find a lot of softwares, etc., which is appearing in this particular screen. Ignore that for the time being, because I have, some sort of I've tried to minimize the amount of data I enter because there's a lot of literature available on internet. I thought, let me use the literature available on internet so that in a channelized manner I can take you through that. So analytics can be normally of 4 types. There's a 5th type also. I'm just looking into the basics. You have something called descriptive. You have something called diagnostic. You have something called predictive, and then you have something called prescriptive. Now, most of us, when we do data analytics, it is either descriptive or diagnostic. This both deal with the past. I repeat, both of this deal with the past. Whereas your predictive and prescriptive deal with the future. I repeat, predictive and prescriptive deal with the future. So what is the difference between these both? If you are telling what happened, that is descriptive, correct? If you're looking into the past, that is what is DD. And if you're looking to the future, that is the PP. So descriptive basically says what happened. Kya hua tha? So much deaths, so much recovery, so much growth. This is all past tense. To a certain extent, our balance sheet financial audit is all descriptive because we do what happened. Of course, we may not produce it in a chart form, we produce it in a balance sheet or a P&L form, but we do a past analysis. Then comes diagnostic. This is where you go in depth and say, why did it happen? You look into the cause and effect relationship. You see, hey, this happened because of this. That has happened because of this. And the third thing is you need to predict what will happen. Okay, if the same trend continues, or if social distancing is not maintained, or for that matter, if let us say the law is not being liberalized, lockdown is not being released, there are so many implications. So what will happen? It could be poverty, it could be economic impact, it could be death cases, it could be various things. That is predictive. What will happen? Based on the past, you identify the pattern. Prescriptive. This is where you look into, hey, you know what? This is more like a drug prescription. If you take this, what action to take, that is where the prescriptive comes into picture. This is where a lot of these advanced technologies are being used. And trust me, my dear friends, today, machines are doing a lot of these analytics. And that's why the next term called as cognitive analytics. Machine is using the power of artificial intelligence to identify all of this. But be that as it may, whatever it is, mere ko kya hai? What is it for me? I know there is data analytics. I know there is data. I know I have Tally. Kya karenge uske saath? That is where we are going to go next. See, when we speak about data and analytics, there are broadly these 3 nomenclatures which you can see. If you see this particular 3 images or 3 visuals, you can see a whole lot of data which is very hodgepodge scattered. Now, what did we do? We simply got them into some sort of analysis, and we got them into some shape by pulling them into a row, column, getting people aligned, things like that. And out of it, you have done some sorting, arrangement, etc. That's how the last part of it comes into. This visual gives you a thought process saying the data is normally in a haphazard form. You need to use the analytics to bring it to some basic shape, and from that identify patterns, identify what could be the decision, identify what could be the key objective, etc., etc. One could probably compare the leftmost chart with the Tetris game which one would have played on your mobile phone. But yes, there is a whole lot of these things which we should be aware of. Taking this conversation further, what is the type of data that I can analyze? You can analyze a whole lot of data starting from structured to unstructured. A few examples of structured data I've tried to give you: sales record, payment of expense, payroll, inventory, financial reports, or anything which comes through an accounting software, spreadsheet, etc. Even your bank statement you can analyze. On the other end, you have something called unstructured. Unstructured could be email conversation. It could be chat conversation. Okay. In one of the sessions, I was speaking and I was taking a poll or a survey, etc. And people, you are typing in the chat window. I simply copied the entire chat content, pasted in an Excel sheet, used about 3 to 5 formulas or 3 to 5 different functions. I was able to present the entire sentiment of our conversation. This just happened about a week back. I just took the Zoom conversation, copy pasted, and I was doing a simple scenario planning like this. And I said, hey, you know what? 25 people said, this is what is information. 15 people said, this is what is information. 10 people said, this is what they feel like. I was able to give a sentiment of feedback or, what was going on a particular topic. Correct. So that is basically what is unstructured data. Instant message data also you can analyze. You can analyze your YouTube comments. You can analyze what is called as your, emails and identify some sort of a trend. But the question is, what is the objective? Now, you may want to analyze your emails. Why? I don't think anybody is interested in applying analytics on an email. It may be necessary when you're doing a forensic audit. If you know that 5 to 8 people were involved into the fraud and you want to know what is the conversation they're having, email analytics is necessary. Correct? You may require social media activity and analysis for various reasons. For example, Coca-Cola or a product which has been a Dettol or a hand sanitizer brand, they want to analyze how many of them are speaking about themselves. A social media analytics. Corporate document repository, news feeds like this. There are a whole lot of these pictures which we can analyze. Remember, you can analyze anything with everything. But the question is, what is the objective of you doing your analytics? Is it to solve a problem? Is it to identify a pattern? Is it for an audit? Is it for you to explore? Or is it that you are just doing a trial and error? All of this will decide how to get started with your analytics. And most important thing in analytics is you need to interpret the results. So this is a jovial image, in terms of what can actually go wrong, correct? Ignore all the other aspects. I'm just thinking about this as a person and a basic system doing a diagnosis, correct? So you're talking about a system. System is not understood whether it's a male or female, but it is interpreting the results. Does it make sense? The answer is no. You will be surprised that if you use certain regression analysis techniques, that's a little more on the advanced side. You can compare the rainfall in Kenya with perhaps, the growth of agriculture in Kenya. Makes sense. The rainfall in Kenya versus the growth or maybe, the malnutrition percentage in some other place in Africa. How is this and that related? Or forget that, bicycle sales of US is compared with the number of deaths in some other country, and both of them are showing a absolute positive correlation. The real question is, anything and everything can be compared. But the real question is, what is the lesson which we have to learn from that? And that is where interpretation becomes very handy. So now that was basically, some background, some sort of the basic essential theory which you should have to go a little more deeper. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through a few data tools or a DA analytics tools. Now, whenever you use any data analytics tool, there are hundreds of data analytics tools. Some are paid, some are free, some are trial version is there, evaluation version is there. Please understand, again the fundamental objective. What is it that you want from it? So these are a few examples on the top. You see a data analytics tool over there, which is called as ECAT. I'll probably, I'll take you through a live case. You have data melt, Orange, Lime, Trifacta, Tableau, ACL, Power BI, MDA audit tool. Now, each of them, my dear friends, has a particular purpose for which it is being solved. For example, if you look into that ECAT, it can analyze any sort of a digital data as long as it is brought into an Excel sheet. And today it's not difficult to bring data into an Excel sheet, correct? For that matter, everything will work on an Excel sheet, but it will work with the basic Excel features as well as the CAT-based features. Now you look into Power BI. It is a wonderful tool for a lot of visualization. Lot of these MIS reports you can use with the help of Power BI. Again, you have ID and ACL, which is another type of a audit tool, which has certain predetermined requisites. Each of them has their own purpose. Now, those of them who are dealing with large data sets, who feel that they are programmers, they can write codes, etc. You can use a language called as R. And from R, the language which was subsequently derived was Python. Correct. And if you feel that I'm open for all these things, try to sort of writing programs, codes, etc., I can probably use 9. I can probably use Orange. So there are so many tools. Or if you see that I want to analyze the data from Tally, I can use this ECAT or TCAT or this MD audit tool. So like that, it totally differs from a case to case. That is very important. And if you look into any of this data analytics tools, there is basically a few functions which it performs. Any of these data analytics, it has a broad 3 to 4 different types of functions, and that is something which I thought I should take you through, because without knowing the steps which this data analytics tool or what you need to do, you can never get started with data analytics. The first and foremost thing which you do is you need to clean the data. I can use the word clean, I can use the word curate, I can use the word transform. The choice is yours, but the object is basically what is important. I need to get the data in an understandable format. I need to get the data in a way people or I can analyze. Say, for example, if you're looking at a spreadsheet software such as MS Excel, the important function over there is splitting the text to columns, which will give you the data in some sort of a shape. If you're using a data analytics tool, there may be something called as a harmonize, which is basically cleansing the data. The second step is you try to get some idea about the data, and that's profiling. What do you do here? You want to sort of validate the data. How do you validate the data? You want to see whether sab kuch theek hai, whether have I got the entire data set? Has the client given me, or have I downloaded some other data, some other month, some other client, whatever. I just want to sort of have an overview, bird's eye view. I don't even want to analyze. Before I analyze, I want to be doubly sure what I'm doing is right or wrong. And that's where you use profiling. An example could be column statistics. An example could be stratifying. All of this I will take you through, my dear friends. You just have to be a little patient. The third thing is, how do I analyze the data? I repeat, how do I analyze the data? Now, this is where you are applying certain functions on your data. For example, you want to identify what are the certain intricacies, newer things in data. Can I do sampling? Can I do some sort of an outlier? See what is the extremes and see whether can I do something about it. Can I use a filter? A simple filter. No, it can use it. And there is something concept called as a dynamic filter. We'll speak about that in some time. Then comes going in depth. Sorry, I think there was some small lag there. Then comes the concept of going in depth. How can I investigate the data? How can I observe what is there? Are there certain unique things? Can I run statistical queries? Can I run some sort of, relative size factor, Benford law? All of these are few statistical queries, methods through which I investigate into the data. And last, I want to document it and I want to report it. So my dear friends, that's basically what are the various steps involved in any sort of a data analytics. And I think it's time for live demo. If you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat window, but I will address them a little towards the end, hoping that that is okay with all of you. And let me quickly get started with the live demo. All right. I am going to start altogether fresh. I'm presuming you can see my spreadsheet clearly. Namrata, can you please confirm that? Because there were some share settings issues before the meeting got started.
Yes, sir.
Wonderful, thank you. Now, we all know that, there's something which is bothering us in the last few days is this unfortunate statistics, COVID-19 statistics. I have just visited the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare website, and I want to see, can I do some sort of analytics with this sort of information? Again, I'm going to talk about a very simple analytics, not complicated thing. Again, those things are also possible, but I just want to take you through. So, I've just visited this. There is something called state-wise data. I just scroll down, I get this table. Now, I want this table into my spreadsheet. All that I do is, I go to my spreadsheet. The moment I go to my spreadsheet, there is an option called data. In data, I have an option called web. Please note, I'm doing very basic information to get started with. The moment I go to choose from the web, correct? You have an option from the web. And when I click on from the web, a small window such as this appears. It may take a minute because I'm already sharing my screen. I'm also on the Zoom screen, correct? So I'm basically choosing this website and I'm saying, hey, you know what, just go to this website. Now, Excel is basically going in the backend, pulling this information from this particular website. And it has told me there are a lot of documents in the spreadsheet, and there is one table, documents in this web page, and there is a table in this web page. Now, if I want to see a web-based view, this is how the website looks like. But this, I'm not going to use it for my analysis. But there is this one table in the website which is going to be useful for my analysis, and that's where I go click on the table view and I have this. Now I'm using the function of Power Query. I repeat, I'm using the function of Power Query, which Excel has by default, and I'm going to try to load this data. But before I load this data, I'm not sure whether this data is the right format. So I just go click on this option which is called as transform data. The moment I click on this transform data, let's see what happens. A small window opens up. It says that, it's sort of processing these queries. And the moment these queries are processed, I get a add-on window, which is called as the Power Query Editor. And this is how it looks like. Are you able to see this? This is how the Power Query Editor looks like. Now comes an interesting question or interesting challenge. The moment I have this Power Query Editor, forget about any large things. I want data in a simple format. Let's quickly go here and see what is the attribute of this particular column. They have said this column is ABC, which means this is not numeric. The system is understood to be alphabetic. Anyways, I'm not going to total the serial number. It's not going to matter. I know that name of a state is going to be alphabetic. I know that active cases should not be alphabetic. It should be numeric. So what do? I simply go, hey, you know what? I have this concept called as data type. Click on the data type and please convert it into a whole number. The moment I say, please convert it into a whole number, I get a simple message. Do you want to add a column or replace current? I'll just say replace that current. And the moment I do this, I can repeat this for the balance 4 columns and say, hey, you know what? Converted this into a whole number. And once I've done this, can you find in the extreme right corner, the steps which I've performed on this data is identified. So the next time I really need not bother, if I just refresh it, all these steps are automatically performed. Once it is done, I come down to see what is the type of data. Can you see here, the last 5 or 6 cells, the data gives some sort of, some anomaly. It gives some sort of, attributes. For example, conditions apply, nodes, etc. I'm not going to analyze this. So this probably I have about, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41. So roughly 6 rows I want to delete it. So I just go to this option called as remove rows. I just say remove the bottom rows. I click on this, and the moment this is done, I get an option such as this, and I say, hey, you know what, remove the bottom 6 rows. So up to 35 is where I want this data, and I'm saying to remove this 35, and within minutes, this entire thing is performed. Okay, so once I have my data ready, what is it next I have to do? I need to load this. So I'm loading this into the spreadsheet, and let's see how this loading happens. When I load it, the data comes in this particular format. All right, and the beauty is every time the Ministry of Home Affairs updates the data, I have to just right click it and just refresh it. So I've got a sort of a dynamic information now. The first thing which I did was I've kept my data ready. Now from this, what is it that I can do? You will find the data is already in a tabular format, or a table has already been inserted. So I go to this table design. Of course, I have various visualizations options over here. But what I will do as of now is I will take this data and sort of prepare a simple pivot. I go to insert and I just say pivot table. Please note, few of you might find this as very, very basic. Please wait. I'm taking you through step by step. Here what I want is I basically want the state-wise data, and I want probably the total confirmed cases, death, cured, and active. So one might say that this is nothing but the same as this table. I totally agree. But what I'm going to do now is a very important feature in pivot, which is called as slicer. The moment I insert slicer, this is like a dynamic filter on the data. The moment I apply this dynamic filter and I say, hey, okay, look at this, I can pick and choose what data I want. Now, this is extremely handy whenever you are doing analytics, or whenever you are understanding the data, or you want to present this data to somebody and they want to have a in terms of they want to see what can be done A versus B, how is the data moving, or if I want to dynamically keep on refreshing the data, this is possible. And this is not the beauty of it. The beauty comes in the next step. I am now, my dear friends, going to insert a chart out of this. And let's see how the chart looks like. I am going to say, hey, you know what? Let's do a simple thing. Let's go click on pivot table analyze, and let's quickly go for a pivot chart. Fantastic. Now, if I give a column chart, it is already giving some sort of a view. I say, can I get a chart something like this? Okay, and I say, just display this. Now see, this chart is now ready, and this is basically the first thing which I want to get started with. So this live demo which I told you, I want to take you through step by step with various things. Now if you feel want of space, etc., you can just hide a few things, and what you can do is pick and choose which you want. You will get dynamic charts like this. Can you find this? I'm choosing which country I want, and my charts have become very, very dynamic. As though this is not sufficient, I have a beautiful thing which I can also do. And you know what that beautiful thing is? Let me show you. I don't like this chart. I somewhat like the entire India map. I want the entire India map. Okay, let's get it. So I choose this data. I go to insert, and I just say, hey, you know what? Choose the maps, and let's see what happens. I have my data ready. Look at this, a click of a button, I have this. And if I want certain slicers in this data, I just go click on this. I just say insert a slicer. Let's say the name of state. Okay. Now let's see what happens. I want only Andhra Pradesh. Okay. So I have only Andhra Pradesh data available. Of course, the maps are going to take a little while because it's going to refresh. So let me see if I can make this larger. Correct. So I'm having this data. And if I just choose Andhra Pradesh and I just expand this, here you go. I have only Andhra Pradesh data, I have only Arunachal Pradesh, I have only Chandigarh. And you always thought that this information was available only with news channels. My dear friends, we have this information ready and handy. Now imagine if you had given your customer or your client with a CRM data like this, which says, which are all regions where you have people. Don't you think your client would be impressed? The answer is yes. So this is how you can use the power of data analytics with simple Excel and spreadsheet. But you know what? This has some limitations. You cannot speak with the data. In other words, you cannot apply too many filters, dynamic scenarios, etc., etc. And so there are some limitations. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to jump the gun and take you through a next application. And this is where I'll quickly come back to my PowerPoint presentation where I had mentioned that, hey, you know what? I can have dynamic dashboards. This is an example of Power BI. I will take you through Power BI. Of course, I don't have that data. I have a different data. For want of time, I thought I will record the screen so that I'm able to present it. Just see what happens. I have the sales information, and this entire sales information, I am able to present it various forms. I have a small, slicer where I just move the date, my entire information is changing. And look at this, I double click the data, I get to know a whole lot of this information. And this is how beautiful dashboards we can create. Now, this is extremely valuable when you have to take a decision on a continuous basis. Management will have a lot of value added insights from this. And link this sort of a data with your original data set, you will be able to take decisions on real time. Correct? Forget about taking decisions. At least you get a look and feel of the data, because we all understand that visualization is a very nice way in which you get the understanding of data and an overall picture of it. Now, this, my dear friends, is possible even on a mobile phone. Correct? You can just pick and choose. You can see that. It's a question of only how you customize it and how you want to look into it. So that's basically which I wanted to talk to you about Excel and Power BI. Correct? So there's the first and the third is what I've shown it to you. The next thing which I want to take you through is how do I get started with some sort of a analytics using a software called as Zoho Analytics. And for this, let's jump into the website. And this is a cloud-based analytical dashboard. And what I'm going to do is I'll quickly take you through the web browser. So I'm going to my web browser. I'm just saying, hey, you know what? Let's just go to this web browser. And I'm going to take you through this analytics using another tool. And this is one other powerful tool, which is fairly simple and it has got a lot of valuable insights. So the first thing which I do over here is I import my data. The moment I choose import the data, I have hundreds of formats and contents through which I can do. And this is possible. Each of them have its own benefits. Each of them have its own utilities. So let me quickly choose my traditional approach. You know what? I'll choose an Excel spreadsheet. I create a workspace name. You can simply call it as a file name or a folder name, however you want to call it. I will just say as BCAS live demo. I can give some description. Wherever I want, I can store the data. So we'll ignore all of this for the timing. I'll just choose the file immediately. And I'm going to choose the same COVID-19 statistics, the same statistics which we just saw a few minutes back. The moment I say this, they have some basic information. The data should be less than 100 MB, rows should be less than 1 million and things, basic information like this. Once I'm okay with this, I just click on next. Now they are uploading this data onto the web portal. It's a cloud-based portal, and it says there are multiple sheets. Which is the sheet you want to analyze? I am, for want of information, I would just probably say I'll say sheet 3. Okay, it just has some basic information. And do you want to import hidden rows, hidden columns? The choice is yours. Now I just go ahead and say next. Now here you can create your table as COVID-19 India stats. And here is a very important thing, whether your first row contains columns name. So your first row contains the columns name, and please note it is already identified that this is a positive number, this is a state or a province, this is an active case, this is cured, discharged, death, and total control basis. And there is no date format involved. I just say, hey, you know what, all this information is right, and I just say go ahead and create it. Now what it says is there is imported the data, And it is giving you sort of a summary that, hey, you know what, 35 rows have been imported, of which 33 have been successfully imported and imported with a warning too. And what is that warning? It says, I am not sure whether where this Dadar Nagar Haveli, where is the geolocation of it? I am not sure the Telangana where the geolocation it. For whatever reason, let's not bother too much about it. I will just say, hey, you know what, close this. There could be some reason for it, ignore it. Now my data is getting loaded into the database of the cloud. And now what happens is the Excel spreadsheet appears. And very important, when I'm using this Excel spreadsheet, I have this beautiful feature called auto-generate reports. Now, this is where, my dear friends, it's a very important lesson for us, which we have to pick it up. We are running in an era where we have so much of data, but we are starving for information. At the same time, we have very limited time and a lot of works to do. What is it that I can do to solve this problem? I will simply see whether can I automate these activities or exercises. So when I want to automate these activities or exercises, I try to see, can I do auto-generated reports? So this software says, hey, you know what? I can do some auto-generation. I say, okay, that's going to be definitely helping me. So what I do is auto-generate reports. I just say, please generate it now. I say yes. Let's wait for about a few minutes and see the magic what this tool can do. Look at this. I did not do anything. I uploaded the data. Look at this entire statistics which this dashboard is giving to me. And trust me, my dear friends, I did not do any of this. I got all of this automatically. Now, this is where the power of artificial intelligence, the power of data analytics combines, and you try to get it. And look at this beauty. You've got so much of information. Of course, I've uploaded only 4 columns or 5 columns. State, I've uploaded the death, I've uploaded the recovery, I've uploaded what is called as your I think the total statistics, correct? I just uploaded all of this and you get a whole lot of this information. Of course, we all know that, you know, maximum active cases are in Maharashtra. So they've given about 42,000 cases, correct? And they've given total active cases is again, you know, name of the state with maximum active. So they've applied some various rules. They may be right, they may not be right. Very important lesson, very important lesson. They may or may not be right. Why do I say so? Because this is where you need to understand a machine can do some bit of automation, but interpretation only a human mind can do. While I understand artificial intelligence is progressing, the ability or the human mind to take a decision is still something very, very pertinent and relevant. So let's simply see how well they have been able to do it. They are giving a lot of statistics about this, correct? And look at this beauty. It is given the entire India map and it is sort of plotted where it is. It is giving you some statistics. They're saying what is the overall position. Now, this is where the beauty of this entire thing is. You can, of course, have various things which you want to do, share themes, you know, various things like this. And this is an automatic analysis. Now, should I want to pick up only one particular state, for example, I'm picking up Bihar, again, no, you know, just from a knowledge perspective, so I have some basic information like this. Of course, it is not able to show because it's just one state. It doesn't make sense to just pick up one state and show, but definitely this is what is possible. And this is how dynamic data can get. And that is not the end. If I want dashboards, can you see there are a whole lot of these dashboards? Of course, I'll reset this entire thing so that the entire country information is appearing. I have dashboards which I can create. You will find a whole lot of these dashboards. I have reports. These reports are also very interesting cases. For example, you are doing an audit and you want the top 10 by number. I just click this and I have the various information. Can you see here? Top 10 by some sort of a, you know, by state or union territory based on a certain particular, this based on serial number. It doesn't make sense for me to pick up something by serial number. And why is West Bengal coming on the top? It is because the highest serial number was West Bengal was 26 or 35, whatever in my case, right? I think it was 35, but it doesn't make sense for me, correct? What should I do? This top 10, instead of, it should be by name of the state, but it should not be by serial number. It should be with something else. And that is where you could change this underlying data. Hey, you know what? Do this, but do not pick up by serial number, go pick up based on something else. So that is where you will have to tell the system, hey, you're wrong that way. So I go back to reports. Now I go to the same thing. I have active, of course, the serial number analysis. I have active cases analysis. I have discharge cases and, various things like this. So I just pick up active cases analysis and I just choose 10 active cases. So we already have the pattern over here. Now, as though this is not sufficient, I can have the graphs which I want to correct, pie charts, all of these are possible, correct? And the beauty is it can also give you geospecific information. And you can pick and choose what are the additional charts you want. There are a whole lot of windows available, correct? You can give what is called as a heat map, where there is more. Look at this, Maharashtra's got more and probably this is less, and various things like this. Now, what we will do now is we will go to the next level where we will do what is called as conversational data analytics. And conversational data analytics is you ask questions and the data is being displayed or answered. For example, I want to say, hey, Google, can you tell me this? Correct? I can do the same thing. I have a mic as well available, but I'm not going to use the mic because it is going to conflict because the Zoom app as well as this app is going to use my mic. There will be a conflict. Let's type it. And this is, I think, ZIA, Zoho, I think intelligent assistant is what I understand they call it as ZIA. Let's simply type, hey, you know what? Give me the total confirmed cases. Just takes a minute and it gives me, this is my total confirmed cases. Okay, very good. Of course, you need to understand the data very clearly because you need to know what is the difference between confirmed, active, discharged, and death. In this case, we all understand, but you need to get. So let's say, give me total confirmed cases by the name of the state. Look at this. This is how simple, your SQL language programming can be used, converting with the help of conversational analytics. I'm giving you, sentences, or I'm trying to tell something to the system. The system is converting and putting it across. I have x-axis and y-axis, which is automatically identified by what I'm typing. And this is what is the next gen of analytics, my dear friends. The next gen of analytics is I am trying to see how best with the help of basic information or basic questioning, I can use it. But please note, every tool has its own pros and cons. We are looking from understanding perspective. I'm not saying this is the best tool, that is the best tool. No, the choice is totally yours. Now let's go to the next level. I don't like this chart. I want a chart like perhaps this. Okay, so it's giving me this information, but I am still not getting some sort of a trend. I want to know total confirmed cases. At the same time, I want subtotal, correct, by the various things. I want the total confirmed cases. Let us say I want to subtotal it by, what can I subtotal with? Subtotal with active cases. Let's try active cases. And I also want, look at this, okay? It's just giving me overall statistics. And the same thing, I also want the subtotal of cured and discharged. I'm just writing a simple comma, correct? And this is okay. I also want the other information, which is deaths. Okay, somebody can say, hey, you know what, you have done just the total of this. Now look at the beauty of this. Now I just write a function, give me this entire thing by name of state. Let's see what happens. The moment I hit on name of state, in a minute, in a jiffy, I've got some interesting statistics. I click on this icon. I just say, hey, you know what, give me in a bar graph. And my dear friends, look at this. I am speaking with the data and data is, I'm able to understand it. I can uncheck what I want, pick and choose only what I want over here. I'm getting the overall information and statistics. See the beauty of it. And as though this is not sufficient, I can, decide to put additional filters also. And I can say, you know what, sort. Okay, it of course takes some time. Sort or, arrange by ascending order. Now, if the system is able to understand this, because this conversational analytics, it also depends on what is the program they have given, correct? So arrange by ascending order of certain things, I can try to give these sort of information and it will sort of, do this. So that's basically what conversational analytics is. I'm just trying to give you a perspective. I can always give, additional queries, various information like this, suggestion queries, etc. So that's basically the power of analytics for you, my dear friends, which I wanted to take you through. So we saw that, hey, you know what, it looks nice, it looks very filmy, it looks very, very, interactive, it looks very, very visualized. But the real challenge is, what is the next step? These all are nice to see. How will I get started with my next journey? Correct? Don't you think that's important? Yes, that is indeed important. And that is where we now change the flow from the types of COVID related analysis. Let's come to financial analysis. And for financial analysis, we all know we have a favorite software. And what is that favorite software? The software which you see with some sort of a green and a yellow, correct? The Tally accounting software. I'm using Tally just as an example. You can use any sort of an ERP, any sort of a system, any sort of an interface. All of these are possible. So the key thing or the key question which you have to look into is, I have a particular data which is called as Shri Krishna Traders XYZ. Now this data, I want to see if I can apply some analytics on it so that it is going to be useful for my GST audit, so that it's going to be useful for my income tax audit, so that it's going to be useful for my procurement or various things which I can do. And let's see how that goes. So the first and foremost which you have to do in any sort of a Tally data, if you have to apply analytics is, please note, I'm talking about default analytics functions in Tally. I repeat, default analytics functions in Tally. So first and foremost, which you have to do is, we try to go to the company info. Once you try to go to the company info, I go to alter, choose the name of the company. Here, there's a feature called security control. Yes. Security control should be enabled. The name of administrator and password, you can decide what you want. And please enable the Tally audit feature. The moment you do this, my dear friends, you are ready to get started with analytics using Tally. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to jump into the main screen and you find one very interesting option called audit and compliance. So let me quickly click on audit and compliance. Under audit and compliance, I'm going to take you through audit and analysis. And this is how data analytics functions have been to some extent embedded within Tally. Now, the moment I click on audit and analysis, this is where you find a whole lot of these analytics functions which is being embedded. And what is that? First thing is verification of chart of accounts. You might think, what is analytics in this? Let's see. This verification of chart of accounts, has done something called as grouping the data. And what is the grouping of the data? They have various ledgers in Tally. It is simply grouped those ledgers under 5 buckets. What are those 5 buckets? Accounts which are squared off during there, accounts which have not at all been used during there, accounts which have only balances, no transactions, revenue ledger having opening balance, used only in current year. Now, this is what is called in your data analytics as profiling. You need to take time to profile the data. See, the problem with profiling is you need to know how should you profile it. At the same time, you need to apply sum if, classify, total. My goodness, how much time it's going to take? Instead of all this, can somebody do some basic work for me? Yes, Tally has already done this. The question is only how you want to use it. So they have done of basic things. Please understand, I'm speaking from an audit angle. How you can do management report presentation. We have various things. Few things I've already covered. I'm trying to cover from an audit angle. So account squared off during there. Now, what is an account squared off during there? Basically, if I go here, I have the whole list of these ledgers where the debit and credit is exactly the same. I repeat, the sum total of the debits and credits is exactly the same. What happens? Over here, my dear friends, 50,000 has gone to some BBMP, which is basically, let's say, some metropolitan authority, whatever it is, none of my business. I have a debit of 50 and a credit of 50. Now, I have all the ledgers where the debits and credits are exactly same. Now, one must be thinking, how does it matter for me? What is so important in this? And that is where your mind as an auditor now starts ticking. Please keep in mind, whenever we are doing audit, there is a tool, there is a skill. The tool is Tally. The skill is your mind actually now starts thinking, hey, you know what, this is what is necessary, this is what I have to do. Correct? So the moment that portion of it your mind is saying, you get to know why is Mr. Ramesh's loan account debited as well as credited. Maybe that gentleman, he wanted to take a hand loan, he put as 25,000, somehow repaid during the year. And if you go by your balance sheet or if you go by your trial balance, you will not be able to understand this because it is grouped under various subcategories. Now, if one were verifying 269 SSNT, where any loan more than 10,000 rupees given in cash, and if some assuming 10,000 or 20,000, I'm not an income tax expert, I'm going by the concept. So assuming that is the categorization, you will get it in a jiffy, correct? In a click of a button. Now I know that this computer junction may have a problem, or for all you know, it may be a false positive. Why? It may be a creditor's ledger. I pass an entry, expense debit to creditor debit to bank. Therefore, creditor gets knocked off. Net impact is my expense is increased, my bank is reduced. So therefore, this is a pass-through account. You can look from multiple angles. Now, if you are doing a fraud-based investigation, if you're doing a forensic analysis, now these ledgers becomes very handy for you. Why? These are the ledgers through which the amounts have been passed and reached the destination. We call this as pass-through accounts. It went through this, went through this, went through this, ultimately reached the end destination. And these ledgers are basically kept in disguise. Perhaps for your analysis, you need to ignore all of this. Click of a button, you're able to get so much of information, correct? So that's basically how you get started. And this is one such feature. The second feature is the ledgers which have not been used during the year. If you see in your balance sheet and P&L account, they're talking about something, whereas if you see over here, the particulars are indicating otherwise, you get some sort of a idea about it, correct? So you find that, some expenses recorded, but that expense is appearing here. There might be some classification, misnomer, etc. You can figure that out. Look at this. I have only balances, no transactions. This typically means that either opening balances carry forward or various things like this. So these are normally your ledgers will be here. Assuming your debtor is appearing here, that means you may have to write off the debtor. It may be a bad debt. It may be, if in case of a bank, it may be a non-performing asset. Correct. So that's basically how you look into it. Revenue ledgers having opening balance. This normally should not occur, but if it is happening, it is because perhaps some person has gone and reclassified your accounts, or your asset has become a liability. Liability has become, forget more than asset becoming a liability. Asset or liability has become income or expenditure. You can quickly identify with the help of this. Next, ledgers which are used only in the current year. These are all active ledgers where they may have an opening balance or closing balance. You get to know so much information. For example, there is an opening balance, there is a closing balance, but these balances are not the same because you know that they have actually been some transactions during the year. So here also you can filter out, and if you want some advanced sorting functions, yes, you have that advanced sorting functions. Just click on configure. Sorry, I'm just quickly taking you through that. Yeah, configure, which is your F12. I think sorry, for some reason I'm not able to show that. Yeah, F12, and you have a beautiful report used only during current year. You can have various queries which you have written, correct types of exceptions, all exceptions, no change, not available in current year, not used. See the number of cases, and trust me, my dear friends, this is nothing but what we saw in Zoho or an Excel sheet where I had to give. Here Tally themselves has given it. I think it's a question of only you going and exploring, and show only revenue, non-revenue, all items, show name of group, show verification. You have so much which you can do, so much which you can do. The question is only, am I interested in doing it? Okay? So that's basically what is the features which are built in Tally. Next, you can do the same analysis on stock items. You can do it on balances. You have analytical procedures where you compare a group versus ledger, ledger versus another ledger, group versus group, etc. Then you have statutory payments. This is provided your statutory payments module is defined in Tally. Again, please note, what you might be thinking, why is this gentleman speaking only about Tally? We all understand that many of the SME or many of the smaller organizations have a substantial involvement or usage of Tally. That is the reason I wanted to explain this as well. Then comes this very important thing, periodic payments and repeated transactions. Now, periodic payments are basically where, the amounts are different, but periodically it will keep on occurring. For example, basic pay is occurring 36 times. This means that 3 in a month. That means what? There are totally 3 people. I repeat, there are totally 3 people whom I'm paying the salary. Now, you might probably want to go and check whether all these 3 people are same, are they different, correct? You can find Ajay, Mahesh, and Rahul, and you can just do some sort of a basic analysis. Correct. Now, if I go to repeated transactions, this is where all the transactions which have been repeated and normally with the same amount will appear. For example, Kavita's rent appears with 1 lakh and it's appearing 18 times. If I go here and hit an enter, you will find that there is a debit and a credit, debit and a credit. Basically, Kavita's rent is to some extent become a pass-through account. Perhaps Kavita's rent account is a current liability, so it has become a pass-through account. But the only thing here is, this is where we need to understand, system gives you a result, you will have to interpret how it is. If you just saw this, Kavita's rent, 1 lakh rupees 18 times, you will draw a conclusion, 18 times the rent of 1 lakh rupees has paid. But if you go here, you will realize it is not 18 times, it is 9 times credit, 9 times debit. So that is how you sort of, interpret this data. That is how you sort of, get an understanding of this entire thing. Once you're done, you go down a little further, go category by category. You have a whole lot of these things which you can perform your analysis and functions. Then you have a very, very powerful function called as relative size factor. Now, when I use the word relative size factor, this is where you use some sort of analytics, and this is something which I personally feel is very powerful. Why? A relative size factor is a simple formula. What it does is, based on each category or each ledger, it identifies the topmost item, and divides it by the second highest item. I repeat my statement. First highest divided by second highest. That's a simple thing which it does. The moment I divide the first highest with the second highest, I get to know some number. We see which of those ledgers are having, probably related, let's say 1.1. Okay. But if it is 2, that means the ratio of the first highest and the second highest is double. If I say 3, the ratio of the first highest and second highest is 3 times. Now, one must always be thinking, why will a ledger have the highest versus the least 3 times, 5 times? This is where you use your mind, you use the human brain basically, and complement with what the system is doing and say, hey, you know what, there might be something fishy. This is where you do investigation. You remember I spoke about various functions. I spoke about basically getting the data together, formatting, all of this, and this is basically investigation. So I go to relative size factor. Let's see what this has got to give me. And trust me, this, if you have to do it in Excel spreadsheet, you can still do it. It's going to take a whole lot of this time, which Tally is giving you by default, correct? So I think we need to harness that power. Imagine if your Tally is having a huge file, let's say about 10,000 odd sales, it can still give you these results. Of course, it's going to be a little slow, but if you pull this in Excel, you can see how much of time it's going to take. Okay, let's look into this. Look at this. Repairs and maintenance is having a relative size factor of 45,000. 45,000. That means what? The ratio between the first highest and second highest is 45,000. Looks very, very abnormal. I just go click it here. Look at this. The first entry is 45,000. Second entry is 1 rupee. Maybe that 1 rupee is a round off accidentally entered, or maybe that should have been some issue. We will ignore this. This could perhaps be a false positive. We ignore this. But if I come down and see, I find, let us say, electricity charges, 13. Now, 13 might be something which is, probably, hey, you know what, 13 looks okay, not okay. And some people say associate 13 with some sort of, unlucky, lucky, whatever it is. But let's see whether this can give me some results. So I hit on this. And what does it say in the top corner? It says 75,000 divided by 5,600, 13.39. That means what? Highest is 75. The second highest is 5,600. So let's quickly come down and see what it is. 75,000, 5,600, and see this entire pattern over here. Can you see this pattern? It is indicating something. What is it indicating? It is indicating that my electricity expenses is on an average 5,000, 4,600, 4,700, etc. But all of a sudden, my electricity bill shot up to 75,000. That looks very, very suspicious. So what is it that I can do? I can probably just see what this narration is. And if I see the narration, my dear friends, it gives me a message. The message is that it is a generator which is being purchased. Now, this is a simple way, CapEx versus OpEx. Revenue is being classified as, capital expenditure is classified as revenue expenditure. In a click of a button, you are able to get this. Imagine if we had to do some, detailed sort of verification. It's going to be time consuming. And this is where we start applying analytics in our day-to-day working. Use these sort of analytic tips, my dear friends. The time you save is going to be phenomenal. Ask you or your senior persons can do this. The junior guys or probably your article staff can do the traditional bit of vouching, etc. You will get a greater comfort. The approach is going to be a little different, correct? And you may have other analysis. I'll quickly spend a few minutes on this. Interbank transactions, very, very important. Whenever you have multiple bank accounts, funds getting routed through multiple sources, you have various transactions which can appear over here. Cash withdrawals and deposits to the bank, correct? Earlier, I think this was a very important check which we used to do. We used to compare with cash scrolls, etc. But today, I think we are getting into digital business, so perhaps this is disappearing, but still important. Fixed asset analysis, in terms of addition, deletion, what is possible, correct? You can also see how you want to configure this. You can also see how you can sort of prepare features or reports out of this. You can configure this, show audit note, yes, so things like this you can definitely do, correct? And you also have number of days greater than 180, lesser than 180. You will have to just do some bit of classification. Next is your transaction on holiday. Now look at this. Of course, you'll have to configure the holiday master in Tally, and then you'll be able to do this. So you're able to get a whole lot of this information in a jiffy. In a click of a button, you're able to get it. Highest and lowest value transaction. This is quite similar to what we saw earlier. Relative size factor. This is the next version of it. It's a maximum variance factor, the highest and the lowest, correct? So the ratio of that. And if I want, I can just sort this entire thing, sort it based on alphabetical order. Let's say Z2, sort it based on alphabetical order, based on range in terms of percentage, in terms of decreasing. Okay, so let's see what happens. Can you see here? Cash, 20 lakh is the highest, 1 rupee is the least, quite possible, correct? But let's ignore that. Let's ignore HDFC OD, maybe for the time. But repairs and maintenance, I think we already saw this, 45,000 is to 1, we may probably have to ignore. So like this, you get to know the entire maximum variance factor at a click of a button. Then you have various other, information like pending advances, tail checks. I'm not going to spend time. So I hope you got an idea in terms of what can be done using these few things: Excel, analytics, Power BI, and Tally. Now I move on to one more tool, which I find it very, very easy to use because this is a simple Excel add-on. It's a software which has a simple Excel add-on, and it has a few basic functions or powerful functions. Okay, so let's see if I can take you through that particular tool. And if you remember, I'm talking about these 5 functions. Remember this: clean the data, profile the data, I need to analyze the data, I need to investigate the data, and I need to sort of prepare documentation and reporting. So whenever, as of now, what I did was I showed you a lot of things in bits and pieces. But I thought it is better I show you one practical use case. And the use case is we are going to do a procurement audit with the help of data analytics. I repeat, we're going to do a procurement audit with the help of data analytics. Now, for doing any sort of a procurement audit, there are a few things, few checks which you can apply. Let's see what are the checks which you can apply. For example, any payable audit. You will probably see, is there some sort of a segregation of duty violation? Is there any sort of a vendor payments with blank memo or description? Is there any sort of a duplicate vendor payment bills? Various things like this. You can also check ABC Pareto analysis. Who's the topest, highest vendor, lowest vendor, filter by amount, a lot of things. And you can do what is called as the relative size factor test. Each vendor, correct? Deriving the vendor ratio of the highest bill with the second highest bill. So you can do a lot of these things. Let's see how best this is possible. And these are the different types of audit steps which we can do. Identify the duplicates, identify the gaps, same, different, classify, the list keeps on going. But I thought instead of showing 100, 200 different things, I thought let's do something very specific to a procurement audit, correct? So let's quickly jump into a new data set now. I know I'm taking you through multiple data sets and sort of jumbling around, but I think it's all in the interest of time and in the interest of learning. Okay, so I have a simple data set like this. Okay, by the way, before I forget, assuming you want that Excel data in Tally to appear, right? That is also possible. That is also possible. All that you do is I use a lot of analytic tools, a lot of dashboards, etc. I'm using this separate analytics tool. Sorry, give me a minute. I'm just in book 5. Yes, I'm using this tool called as ECAT, which you can see on the top portion of my screen. Just give me a minute. Okay, I have just pushed that to the bottom. Yeah, can you find here? I am using about 3 to 4 tools. So I'm just using this function called as a TCAT. This is a Tally based CAT tool which I use by, I think it's a third-party tool. It's a third-party tool by Windsor Infotech. And here I have ECAT. There's another tool which I'm going to, data analytics tool. I'm going to use this today for our analysis. Just for you to get an idea how TCAT can be used, this can bring your entire Tally data into a spreadsheet. For example, I just say bring the entire data of transactions. I can, it takes a minute or two. It chooses what is the financial year automatically based on what my Tally period is. And I can just bring parent and parent group. And you know what? I can just say, please import this entire daybook. Don't you think if I imported the daybook itself, I will get some sort of an idea or thought process? So that's basically what we're going to do. And it's going to take some amount of time because it is importing from a third-party tool, correct? So the moment it imports, my dear friends, let's see what the results are. You'll have to give me a couple of minutes because the Zoom settings were changed and I am not able to, sort of show you the entire spreadsheet. Okay, so I'm sharing screen by screen, so it is going to take a few minutes. I apologize for that, but there is nothing that even I can do here. Okay, so that's the data which is being loaded. So let's see how it's going to take a few minutes because I've asked for a good amount of data. And let's see what the data looks like. Here you go. I have the entire ledger or the entire Tally information in an analyzable format. Now, if you export that data in Tally into Excel spreadsheet, I don't think you will get it in this format, and it's not very easy for you to analyze. Forget this. If you feel that you want to analyze one particular category, so I go to the same daybook, but here instead of the same transactions I will do, but I will choose a different option. So let's see what the option looks like. Okay, so the option looks like, oh yes, here is the options. Can you see here, daybook? So I go click on extract and I go choose parent. And what are the various categories of the parent which are there? It gives me these options. I can simply go choose sales, correct? So let's say I choose direct income or indirect income, or I can just say sales, correct? So give me a minute, I'll quickly take you through that. Sorry, my Excel is getting hung up because we are looking into, there we go, yeah. So I've chosen sales. The moment I choose OK, let's see what happens. So automatically it has told me that these are the 5 categories of sales. And I say, hey, you know what, give me the parent and parent primary group also just for reference. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, you know what, please extract this into the Excel spreadsheet. So now it is extracting all of this into the Excel spreadsheet. Okay, so the moment the data is extracted, let's see what the result is. Oops, there you go. I think you're seeing a blank spreadsheet. Let's just give a couple of minutes. I think the data is just getting refreshed. There we go. We have the entire spreadsheet data. Look at this. I have my entire sales information. And this entire thing in a simple analyzable format. I can just pick and choose what I want. I can quickly analyze. Of course, here I will get the entire debit and credit. Should I want to, I can just choose a ledger voucher. I can, I know the credit. I don't want to know which are the other parties. So I can just go here, filter what I want. I can choose it. Alternatively, I can choose extract by ledger vouchers. So let's see if I can choose extract by ledger vouchers. I have TCAT. Instead of day book, I go ahead and choose, instead of transactions, I go choose ledger vouchers. So ledger vouchers is nothing but a useful way in which I get the entire ledger summary in one shot. I can choose cash, bank, expense, etc. So again, I go here. Again, I have an extract. Again, I go choose parent. And this time when I choose parent, it gives me again the same option, correct? I go and choose sales. So I'm just trying to tell you how quickly it is easy for you to analyze this data and how simple it is for you to get this entire data in a click of a button. Correct? So you just analyze this and let's see whether is it able to bring this data into the spreadsheet. Now look at this. This is my overall sales for the year. Correct? I have this information. Now of course, I've chosen a smaller data set because if I have a large data set, it's going to take hung up because we are doing through video call session. So I have this data. Now I can apply the various tools or tests which I want to apply on this. So like that, I have sort of, extracted some data when it comes to procurement. And this is the function, this is the information I have. The moment I see this, my dear friends, look at this. The data is ready, but it is not in an analyzable format. Why is it not in an analyzable format? The reason is because it has some headers, footers, so much of information over here. So this is going to make it difficult for me. So if you remember the data analytics journey, which I told you, the various steps which we followed, the first step which we follow is, can I clean up this data? So I go to the software called as ECAT or an add-on called as ECAT. They have various things like clean the data, profile the data, analyze the data, investigate the data, etc. I'll just go say, hey, you know what, remove. What is it that I want to remove? Do I want to remove this entire data? The answer is no. I just want to remove the first few lines, correct? I just want to remove this. So I either can choose that, or, if look at this vendor city, this data is basically blank. So is it relevant for me? The answer is no. Subtotal, is it relevant for me? No. And again, look at this, subtotal has been merged. So there are a lot of data quality issues. Can I, in a jiffy get this thing converted? So I go click on transform. There is an option called as harmonize the sheet. I ask the software, hey software, can you please clean up this particular sheet for me? And let's see what the software says. The software is giving me various options. Workbook name you want to clean, header row you want to, sort of purify. I choose, what, I don't have so much time. We're talking about instant noodles, correct? So can I have something to do instantly? So there's an option which is called as select all the basic options. The moment I choose select basic options and I choose OK, let's see what happens. Okay, so it's doing some bit of cleaning. It is doing some bit of formatting. And it has already chosen this. But when I was cleaning this, I forgot to mention something to the software. I forgot to mention, hey, these first 10 rows were not relevant for me, correct? So again, I can go back and, harmonize the sheet. And when I'm clicking this option now, I will tell the system, of course, I can obviously go and, manually delete it. But since I'm taking you through this data analytics tool, I thought it makes a lot of sense to go through this particular data analytics process. So I choose the basic options. And here I have remove top X rows. I'm going to remove, let's say, the top 10 rows. So the moment I choose top 10 rows, let's say, okay, let's see what happens. All right, can you see what's the changes which is going on through a spreadsheet? And look at this, my dear friends. The data is in an analyzable format, correct? So the data is in a simple format where I can sort of do basic analysis. Now, if I go through this, now if any person wants to do some bit of an audit out of it, what is it that you think you will get started with? You would want to see what is this data for? correct? So that is where you use this tab called as profile. So this whole tab is to do with cleaning. I'm not going to explain the software, rather I'm going to explain the audit process. So first I want to double check whether my data looks fine. So I want to see whether this data is right. So I go click on data. There are various functions over here. I go click on details. There's a whole lot of features, and there's something called search. I can go click this. I simply go click on details and I say, boss, please give me the column statistics. So the moment I click on column statistics, it says displays the column. Sorry, why am I getting this message? Okay, I think that's a Zoom setting. Sorry. Yeah, I go click on details. The moment I go click on details, there is column statistics. It says displays column-wise statistics of numeric date and character data. So I choose on column statistics. Let's see what happens. It is now trying to give me some statistics about my own data set. And what is a data set, or what is the statistics it can give me? It can give me numeric statistics. It can give me date-based statistics. It can give me character-based statistics. So for the time being, let me simply choose date-based characteristics. I want to know, based on the PO date, give me some basic statistics. And you can, sort of, if there are multiple options, you can just select all. And I'm also asking the system, hey, you know what, give me the total number of records by each of the month, total number of records by date. I'm asking the system to, sort of give me all this information. Coincidentally, I think the data is available only for April and October. It is all already given. I can just choose select all the date statistics and let's see what happens. So I'm going to just run this. It's going to take a few seconds. I'm just talking about statistics for me to get an idea what is this data all about. All right, so let's see what the results are. Are we ready? So let's see what the results is. And I have my results populated in this dashboard. Look at this. I know the total number of records in this particular file is 2114, of which number of null value 0. That means the PO date column with any value or a blank cell, there are 0, which means to some extent I'm okay with it. What is the first date? April 2015. What is the last date? 31st March 2016. Now you might say, sir, this I can just apply a filter, top, highest, lowest. I agree. But will I be able to get so much of information in a click of a button? The answer is no. See, I'm talking about, the entire concept today. We have very limited time. Can I get instant insights about my data? And that is where column statistics is quite handy. It can give you a whole lot of this information. Of course, now it may not be so very dynamic like a spreadsheet where you can click and do everything. But of course, you can go, there are options available. If I choose some other function like an MIS, I can get the same option. I can double click. I will be able to get some information. But let's see if I can get this 155 details. Yes, I'm able to drill down. So this is how the drill down report looks like. Don't you think this is handy for me? All the PO dates which are on February, I can get it. All the PO number on a particular date, I can get it. So all these are possible. This is basically how dynamic the data can actually get. Now, should I want to, I can just click on Excel, save it. Or if I feel, no, you know what, this becomes too much for me, let me go back to my window. Correct. So I can choose what I want. So I have this entire window with me. I can go pick it up and look at this. Number of cells with inconsistent date is null. So I know I am clear with what is the information. I can go to the next level. Day wise also I have various information. Now look at this. Sunday I have 293. Perhaps this company is working even on a Sunday or a weekend. So it may be good, it may be bad. We do not know. So once I've done this basic information, as I told you, I can go to drill down feature also. I'm sticking on to the basics. So I've understood some basic statistics. I know what my data is. The moment I use this data, what is the next step which I have to do? Of course, I can push it to Excel. Should I want to save? I'm ignoring that. Let me go back to my data set. Okay, I'm just saving this in Excel so that we have a copy of it. And I'm presuming you're able to see my data set. It has saved everything. Of course, here I cannot do a double click to get the data, but it is definitely available. Now that I have this data set available, so I know what is the PO date, what is the next thing which I can do at a profiling level, correct? So what is the next objective which you have? I've got some idea about my statistics, but now I want to see, can I sort of, summarize this entire thing and see from which vendor, how much I've purchased? from which vendor, what is the quantity I've purchased, etc. And that is where I go to the next function, simple function called classify. Now classify, one could probably say quite similar to that of a pivot. What classify does is, I'm going to click on classify this data. Let's see how I'm going to classify this data. I'm saying, hey, you know what? Hey, software, can you please classify based upon, let's say, vendor name, and summarize based on amount, because that is what is more logical. Quantity and unit price may or may not be relevant. Please display to me, count, percentage, correct? Display options, count and percentage. I'm just giving this basic information. I can also tell if I want to group this by anything. I am not choosing grouping for the timing. I can write various things which I want to compute, step 1, step 2, computation field, etc. So I have a lot of these additional things which I want to do. I don't want to go to it. I am doing very basic information. So let's say I am going to give this classify. Before that, I hope you are able to see the data. This is the data, and I'm going to apply this classify function. Let's see what happens. Okay, this is the result, and it's quite interesting. What is this result? Look at this. I am able to identify which vendor has provided the maximum number of times in terms of percentage or in terms of value. Of course, it is done based on alphabetical order. I want to sort it. Very simple. Just double click this. I'm able to sort this. Correct? So I'm sorry, I think I just clicked on the icon there. So let me just double click this. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so I think, sorry, I'm sorry. So I just had to do a single click. So I just did a single click on percentage of vendor name. Can you see I'm able to sort this data? Can you get this? Now see, at a click of a button, I know Anand, and Anand is the guy from whom 49% of my procurement is. In fact, through my procurement audit, if I just focus on this guy, to a large extent, I'm happy. I'm able to get some sort of insights. And maybe if I have to do some sort of sampling, I can just pick up from these dates, correct? I can also go based on vendor-based sampling, etc. There are some advanced functions for it, which I'll take it up later. You can see a tab called a sampling here. It is deactivated because I chose the option of classify. I did not choose the option for sampling. So this is how you sort of get a profile of the data. And there are some basic charts also available, where you can get an idea about this. But these are basic charts. You can pull them into Excel and always do a lot of visualization. Now, if I want, I can also write certain dynamic filters. I say, boss, give me all those people where the percentage of amount, I repeat, okay, so I just go here and I say, boss, give me all those people who are greater than 30%. We all know that it is going to be only one guy, because only one guy constitutes 14. Let's say I say more than 5%. Okay, nobody is there because the next highest is 4%. So can I say more than 2%? See, these people appear. I don't want 2, I want only 1. I want only 4, I want only 3. Can you see, this is called as dynamic filters. I can choose the amount and category, and I can write various things, correct? So that's basically what is called as a dynamic filter. Now, once I've extracted this, I can pull it into various reports, etc. I can extract it in terms of where I want it. I can put it into Excel. I can put it into Excel charts, correct? So all these are options available, but for want of time, I will make it very, very simple for our understanding. Okay, I'm going back to my spreadsheet, correct? So I have just pulled this information. So give me a minute, my dear friend. Because normally multiple icons appear. Can you find it there? I'm able to do a simple chart, and this is with the help of Excel charts. So this is the power of analytical software, which is having an add-on with Excel. I didn't do anything. I just did the analysis. I told please use an Excel chart, and it basically used the Excel chart, and I'm able to get something out of it. Correct? I can obviously keep on choosing what I want, but yes, we know that I have classified who are my top vendors. So that's basically what is profiling for you. I don't want to do 100 tests for you, as I told you. I just want to do a few things. Now I want to do some bit of analysis. Correct? I want to go a little more deeper. I want to figure out, are there any duplicates? What could be a possible area for duplicate? PO order, PO date duplicate, is it relevant for me? No, it doesn't make sense. But can there be a PO number duplicate? Yes. Can there be a vendor code duplicate? Yes. Vendor name duplicate? Normally no. Normally no. I can have material code, quantity, all these things, but I don't think duplicate analysis of all this makes sense. So let's say I choose, give me those cases of duplicate PO numbers. So this is something which in our Excel also which we do, but only the challenge in an Excel is that it can either show all the duplicates or it can remove. You will have to use some bit of formula and other things. So here I'm going to click on identify. I'm going to click on duplicates. I'm going to tell the system, hey, you know what? Identify the duplicates. So when I tell the system identify the duplicates, the following tab appears, a small icon like this. Now I have the option to choose what I want. I'm just choosing PO number over here. So I have this PO number, and you want details, result form, etc. For the time being, ignore all of this and let's say, show me the duplicates. Okay, let's see what happens. There you go. He's running it. He will take some time because there's a logic which goes through. Okay, so while this is going through, it takes some time because it has to run through each of these line items. It also depends on this data set. I have about 2000 of, I'm not sure how many, I think 2000 odd line items. It may probably take a few minutes because I'm asking it to give me only the duplicates. I'm not asking you, sort of analyze or go into too much of depth. So once this process is complete, my dear friends, you will be in a position to say, hey, you know what, this is how you can get started with your analysis. So likewise, you can do multiple other types of analysis. You can also go to investigate, etc. Probably two more functions I'll show it to you for want of time, because we are crunched on time, but I hope you got, the idea about it. Yes, sorry, I think it's displayed over here. Can you see here the number of duplicate POs? Can you see over here the number of duplicate POs? It says this is cancelled, this is cancelled, this is duplicate, this is duplicate. But I realized something. All these duplicates are for the same vendor. But look at this. I have this duplicate, correct, which is for 5287 for vendor name this, 5287 for Anand and Anand. Now this is a suspicion. How can I give with the same PO multiple people? Now this is where my mind thinks next. Can I get all cases where PO number is same but vendor name is different? That is basically how I go to the next level. And for that, what am I going to do? Let's quickly jump back to my spreadsheet. This is the penultimate test which I'm going to do. All right, and let me save this data because I have a lot of useful insights. So I'm going to save this into my spreadsheet. And once I'm done with saving this information, I want to apply this new test. What is this new test which I want to apply? I go back to the sheet. I say, hey, you know what? Identify duplicates, but now I want to identify same, different. Those fields which are same, but those fields which are different. Let's try to apply this. In fact, I can apply the same, different in multiple angles, but for simplicity's sake, I'll just apply with the same one field. So I want all the PO numbers which are same, but the vendor name is different. All right, so this is the window which appears, correct? I have all the fields which PO number same and vendor name is different, correct? I can choose multiple other combinations also. I'm just choosing it for want of time, a very simple analysis. So let's see how it's going to be running it. Okay, Sorry, I think I clicked on the wrong button. Let's, yeah, same, different. Okay, so field I want is same PO, correct? I want the same PO date, or sorry, same PO number, and I probably want to pick up if same, PO number is same, vendor code is same, but his name is different. Various combinations I can just pick and choose, correct? Or I can choose the same PO or the same vendor code. Let me probably do a different analysis. The vendor code is same, the vendor name is same, but or the product name is same. Let's go to this. I have a material code, right? So I choose vendor code, material code is the same, but the unit price is different. So I can do a lot of these analysis like this, correct? So that's basically I can have one field same, one field different, or two fields same, one field different. Various steps like this I can sort of perform. So let's see what happens. So this is going to be the penultimate test which I'm going to do before I wrap it up for the session for Q&A. I understand this may be exciting. There are a lot of exciting functions, but I think for want of time, we may have to, sort of keep it short and simple. Okay, so I think it's still running it, and yeah, here is the answer. Here you go. Correct. So I have, the same vendor code. Correct. First of all, I have one vendor code, vendor name, and I have the unit price. So I identify at various places these items have been given. For example, let me just take 353. Look at this. CPT Limited has supplied the same material code, okay, with various unit prices. Can you find this analysis? So I'm repeating it. I have a vendor code CPT Limited. He supplied the same material at different unit price. Sometimes it is 4, sometimes it is 5. And this is the fellow who's entered it. Correct. Now I can decide where I want to do this investigation. Now, for example, if I see Bangalore, it was 5 as well as 4. So the question is whether the price modification has it been accepted. So I can perform a whole lot of checks like this, and this is how I, apply this function on my procurement audit. Okay, so let me quickly save this for my analysis. For my further reference, I can always decide to, filter, save, etc. So just taking a few minutes. And once that is done, I get back to my data, whatever I have. Okay, so that's basically what I wanted to take. I think I'm just getting a message. Okay, so I think we are almost coming to the end of the session. But yes, so there are a couple of queries which are coming up. I will answer them. So you'll have to just give me a few minutes. But yes, so this is what I thought I'll take you through in a short span. There are a lot more things which is possible, but it takes some amount of time for me to, sort of show that. So these are a few tests which I told you my difference, which is possible. And this is basically another form of visualization. Just for your reference, this is called as text-based visualization. We call it as word cloud, and hundreds of visualizations are also possible this way. So what is the key message which I want to draw to you today, my dear friends? The key message which I want to take you through, or which I want to give you, is very important, is that it is not about the data that you have. It's about the data which you want. It's all about the data which you want and how you want to sort of spend time in analyzing that. So that's basically what I wanted to take you through. Thank you so much. There's a quick view about us. This is what we do, but nevertheless, this is all about myself. And I can also share some details. I think many of them have dropped a message saying that which is this company, which is the software, etc. I think that's some basic questions. So I'll quickly answer them one by one in your chat window, or I leave it to the organizers. They can ask their queries. Thank you so much. Namrata, you can take over.
Mr. Narasimhan, it would be actually helpful if you could talk about the software on the presentation itself, because if you answer in the chat window, the other people will be deprived.
Okay, I'll do that. So just give me 1 minute because I think I'm not able to share the full screen. So I think it's creating some challenges for me. Okay, so I'll quickly go through the screen where I was showing you that various types of softwares available. Yes, here it is. Give me a minute. Let me quickly go to that particular slide. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, so the software which I use now was called eCat. The software which I also used a little earlier was TCAT. So this is by a company by name Windsor Infotech. You know, here you have, because many of them are dropping this message, so I thought I should clarify that. This is that company which is called wincat.com. You can reach out to them if you have anything. The other thing is Power BI. Many of them ask, sir, how do I get started with Power BI? You just type Power BI download, correct? Or you can just say Power BI for desktop. You can easily download it. I think the basic version, you have a lot of features available. If you want an online version, etc., you may probably have to pay them. Then I think I also spoke about Zoho Analytics. So Zoho Analytics is another software. You can just go here. It's a cloud-based software. Again, certain features are free, certain features are paid. So you can go ahead and sort of explore them. So it's a nice way of getting started with data. The next thing which I also took you through was, of course, Excel. Many of you have it, but please do have latest version of Excel. I use Microsoft 365. That's quite powerful. Then I think I also spoke about MDA audit tool. So there's another audit tool. I couldn't show a demo, but this is another MDA audit tool. So this again for tax audits and various functions which is possible. Of course, you can do it with other tools as well, but just giving you an idea. Did I cover any other tool? Yeah, IDEA and ACL, again, you can just, but I'm not sure whether IDEA and ACL have an evaluation version, but you can just go and look into it. So IDEA is by a company by name Caseware. You have this. And the other one which I probably will speak about is Tableau. Tableau is again one other software. You can, sort of, they of course have some free version also. You can just probably go and see that. Tableau for desktop. Yeah, so most of these websites itself have all the basic information. So I'm just taking you through those websites because many of the times, many people have understood it, but somehow they feel that that part of it, they missed it out. How do I go through it? So I think I've addressed that as well.
So there were 3 Excel add-ins actually. There was one which was E2 Tally.
Correct.
There was some eCat and there was some AutoCAD. So all 3 of them are by Windsor?
Yeah, all of them are from Windsor.
Okay.
All of them are from Windsor.
Namrata, if you have other people who have written to you, Mr. Pratik Vasa, and there was one more person who had raised his hand earlier, probably you could unmute them and then let them ask.
So there is one query.
Please go ahead.
On YouTube. Once we carry different analysis for one data, can this be repeated in the future for same data?
Absolutely possible. You can save the steps and you can redo it. For example, you're doing some analysis for the month of April GST. You can repeat the same thing for subsequent months as well. But the data should be in the same set. You can put it in the same folder. Next question, please. I think there was some noise there. Let me clarify. Once you apply on one set of data, you can perform this to the other set of data as well. I hope I've clarified my question. I've clarified the question.
Yeah, there is one more question. Can you suggest the office task management tools?
Oh, I have spoken about entire thing on office management. I think in one other webinar with BCS itself. I would suggest if somebody can go through the BCS channel, you'll have it.
Okay.
Hi, sir. Just wanted to know that how to get that tool, ECAT.
Please identify yourself before you speak.
My name is Pratik Vasa.
Ah,
Just
yes.
wanted to know that how to get that ECAT tool in our Excel. So I guess you addressed that question from Vincent, right?
This is the company, sir. You can just go visit that website. I think you will get all the information.
Okay, so thank you so much.
Yeah, these are all
Hello.
the various.
Mr. Vinod Chaudhary, I have unmuted you. You can ask your question. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, Mr. Chaudhary, I have unmuted you. You can ask your question.
Yeah, I had a question in the sense when we create a Power Query for analysis, can that be shared between two people?
Yeah, so what happens is it depends on what license you're using. Assuming you have Power BI desktop, vis-a-vis Power BI dashboard or a cloud-based license. If you have a cloud-based license, you can share it, very simple, but you have to pay for it. If you have a desktop license, the entire desktop file you'll have, along with the data set, etc., you'll have to zip it to the other person, and he has to, put it into a folder, and from that folder he has to open it.
Okay,
It's
got
possible.
it.
It's possible. Just some bit of workaround will be there.
Got it, got it.
Mr. Talreja, I have unmuted you also.
Yes, good afternoon. Sir, I had this one specific query with respect to use of Zoho Analytics. Can you shed some light on how will I ensure that the confidentiality of data is being ensured?
Okay, sir, I'm not doing any audit of any applications, but from what I know is there are two things which I like about this company. This company Zoho is based out of India. Okay, so it's very much an Atma Nirbhar Bharat product. That's point number one. Point number two is that they are GDPR compliant. Okay, if I go through any of their websites, they say that they are GDPR compliant, and GDPR is the international or rather European privacy law, which has now set the benchmark for the entire world. So in terms of privacy and what they have to follow, and this company is a GDPR compliant company. That's what is evident from the website. So I feel the data is fairly safe there.
Hello, this is Ramesh Challa. Is this ECAT useful for SAP also?
Yes, sir. You can do it, sir. You use it. Only challenge there, sir, is you may have to take some time to get the data in the Excel spreadsheet. So as long as you get the data in this format, whichever format you're using. For example, here I just got the sales in this format, right? So your time will be taken only in getting this data in this format. Okay. Once you get it into this is as good as any other software, sir. Even Idea, ACL, anything. But one unique thing which I always like with this software is, of course, it is very user friendly. Click of a button, I'm able to get it. And second is I can use Excel as well as the analytics feature. So sometimes I may not want to use a full-fledged analytics software. I just want to use one small sum if formula, etc. So right.
Yeah. Typically, how much actually it will cost for about 2 users? I don't know whether it's appropriate for me to ask this question.
Sir, I am not from that company. I am just a user of that product.
I know. Yeah.
My suggestion, you reach out to them, sir, please.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Patel, you can ask your question.
Yeah, Sharad Patel this side.
Hi.
Various clients are using different softwares for accounting and data. And how the ECAT and TCAT grab the data from there?
Sir, can you get the data in Excel format is the first question. If you are able to get it, you can do it, sir.
Okay, directly it's not possible, like in Tally.
Sir, Tally has an inbuilt analytics module, which I told you, but again, it has limited features. You can't do everything out of it. So if you're able to get this data in an Excel spreadsheet, sir, you can use the functions of ECAT. So let me clarify the functions which I showed you. This is basically a data analytics software, ECAT. Okay, this TCAT was a data analytics software only for the purpose of Tally, as in it can analyze Tally specific. Okay, then you have, I don't want to go into too many things, but yeah, those are ECAT and TCAT.
Okay, that's done. Thank you.
Pleasure, sir.
Kamlesh, Sanjay, Namrata, any more questions from any other participant?
I wanted to ask one. Can I?
Please go ahead.
Okay.
Please identify yourself.
Yeah, this is Rajesh Darak.
Yes, please.
The two things. One is I just wanted to know your advice. Should one, if I'm a layman and I'm not that familiar with the full potential of Excel, then is it better that first I explore the full potential of Excel before looking at these other softwares? That is the first question. If you can answer that first. Thank you.
Sure, I'll tell you very simple, sir. See, there are hundreds of functions, correct? It's like, I mean, on a jovial note, because when lockdown, we are pretty much stuck in our home. We never knew what all cooking varieties our home we ourselves could do it, right? Right from pasta to noodles. I think we have done some or the other experiment in our home in the last few months, correct? So the question is, do I want to explore entire facilities or utilities of noodles only then go to pasta and only then go to pizza? I don't think we want to do that. My suggestion is, see, if you want to explore everything of Excel, even one lifetime, I would say, is not enough, because Excel has got so many features. My suggestion would always be, have 3 to 4 knowledge of different tools. You never know where you can use what. And that is one. Second, Excel has no doubt some analytics features, but some more sort of analytics if you have to bring in. See, what I did was I did visualization through Excel. I didn't do too much of analytics through Excel. So add-on tools or CAT tools, etc., always have that extra edge. So that's where I find it very useful and handy.
I would actually like to.
And another question. Sorry.
1 minute. I would just like to add a little bit more to what Mr. Narasimhan has said. I think you appropriately summarized it when you said that you want to first try all the noodles and all the pasta and then go on. I also wanted to say that I've been using Excel for maybe 25 plus years, and I would consider myself that even after so much years of use, I probably know 0.0001% of what all Excel can do. I think the second point also, which Narasimhan sir pointed out very, very aptly, is that there are many things which Excel can do, and there are some things which Excel can do in general, and there are other things which other tools can do better. So to put it in a different manner, if you consider your cell phone has a voice recorder, it has a playback player, it has a video recorder, it has a video player, it has a camera, it has got so many other things. But still, some people may find that if they want to take out a photograph, or if they want to record a movie, or if they want to do some really very, very specific and niche type of a function, the phone itself may not be sufficient, or the app that you have, which you are using in general, may not be very good. You may need a very, very specific type of equipment, or you may need specific type of software to do it. So while Excel can achieve the basic, if you're happy with the basic, you needn't go anywhere else. If you want to do something better, if you want to do something which is far ahead of what you're doing in Excel, then you will need the other software. Mr. Narasimhan, please add if I have missed out anything.
I think you have spoken absolutely right. Only one thing which I will just probably tell is this. In Excel also you can do, but the time taken which Excel will have, you have to do 3 to 4 steps and then get the result. Which, with CAT tools, you can get it at a click of a button.
Yeah, CAT tools, even Power Query for that matter. I mean,
whatever,
if it is a...
So I would probably say these add-on tools.
Yes.
CAT tools, analytical tools, whatever.
Yes, there are two people. I think Mr. Patel was asking something and Mr. Reddy.
One more question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
That was, you talked about descriptive and diagnostic tools today, right? And not about
analytics,
not about predictive and prescriptive tools.
Yes, that requires some bit of statistical regression analysis, etc. So I thought I'll stick on to the basics.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So,
hello, sir. This is Sam.
One minute. I would just like to add to what Mr. Patel was asking. Typically, as auditors, we are used to doing post-mortem. Unlike MBAs and other professionals, we have never been called out to give out future analysis or predictive.
It's just that we have not explored it. If we start exploring it, we will be the most sought after people in